Tonight, it's all me all night. Well, and you all too, you get to participate. It's Labor Day weekend coming up, end of summer, and I'm going to do a recap of the past 90 days in the business and my experience traveling around. I've ended 8 shows in the past 90 days, and then I went to one more, which was Schomburg, icon of the industry. We're talking about all of that. I'll talk about some business updates got going on at Proper Royals, which is pretty cool, and I'll try and be transparent through it all. We'll talk dollars. We'll talk average pricing, what I'm actually seeing out there in the market. And again, hopefully some chatter from you guys. We can cover anything you'd like tonight. Stick around. It's going to be a fun solo flight tonight. Hey, thank y'all for being here tonight. It's, anytime the audience is here, it's of course fantastic. But a lot of times I'm no dummy. The guests are the star of the show. So I really appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate you checking this out. And if you happen to be checking this out for the very first time, it's a Proper Royals channel. I talk ball pythons, reptile industry, try and keep a professional and business focus. I do have fun. We got to have a good time. But I do try and keep a professional and business focus. And if that's up your alley, hopefully you'll consider sticking around and maybe subscribing and all of that sort of thing. How is everybody? From the resort, like seasonal standpoint, we always looked at Memorial Day as the unofficial start to summer and Labor Day as the end of summer. And part of it is weird to me that because I've been in Minnesota, this is my first summer I've ever spent in Minnesota. So it never really quite felt totally like summer, except for yesterday. Oh my God, it was 95 degrees up here. And that's not heat index, like 95 degrees legit. But it really hasn't quite felt like summer from a heat standpoint coming from Florida. And then I realized that it's Labor Day this weekend. My son's going back to school next week. And then that dreadful Minnesota winter is, just around the corner. So I was like, you know what? Let's do a summer recap of what's been going on. June, July, and August is what tonight's show will focus on from a business standpoint. I've ended 8 shows, all of them that I've ended were here in the Midwest, upper Midwest region, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin. And I'll try and give a little context to those demographics when I get there, but I'll tell you what I made at each of the shows. I'll tell you, I'm not going to break down like 8 shows, but I'll tell you as a whole kind of what I made. And we'll look at market trends. I'm going to compare it to last year and see if there's anything that we can learn about what's going on right now. And sometimes data is just good to have data. It's not good or bad. It just is what it is. And then you learn how to apply it and to put it to, what you're working on. The tough thing on these live shows is I try and engage the camera, and that means that I miss some of the comments. So every now and again, I'm just going to look down and try and catch up on the comments. Charlie, yeah, I am doing Denver. You asked that. Are you? What are you asking about Denver? I'm not going to vend there. I'll be there with REDLINE shipping working. I haven't figured out a way logistically for Denver to make sense. It's a 3-day show. It's a 14-hour drive for me. So I guess I could do it, but I'm going solo. So it's not that safe, especially on the way back. So really it's a minimum of 5 days, probably 6 or 7 days away from home. And then, the hotel, the stops, blah, 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 all those things. So I'm flying into Denver and flying out, the fun way to do that kind of show. So we'll break down some of that stuff. I got a few announcements and then just a few segments to get into tonight. And again, I will try and keep an eye on the chat, and we'll keep those topics going too. Oh, I like that, man. Yeah, let me know if you do come out. Well, of course we got to catch up. You'll be at the show. I'll catch up with you there. But yeah, we got to catch up a little bit after that too. Let's see. This past Sunday, which I'll include in the discussion tonight, this past Sunday, I vended Des Moines, Iowa, And if you're like me and you're not from the Midwest and you're from Florida and you think Des Moines, Iowa, you go, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. It's a good show, though. I like it. It is put on by Cold Blooded Expos. Jason runs a really nice circuit up and down I-35, and Des Moines is one of the stops on there. I like to do his shows. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but he does a nice job on that. Thanks, Des Moines. It was great. If I met you there and you're checking out the show for the first time, thank you very much. Normally I have a guest. Tonight it's just me. We'll see. No shows that I'm vending in September. First month that I haven't had a show that I'm vending in, I don't know, sometime since 2023 for sure, and probably early 2023. I decided I liked shows pretty early on when I started doing them. So September, I'm going to take off. Like I was just talking with Charlie at Reagan Renee, though. I will be out in Denver at the All-American Reptile Plant Expo. That's Troy from Best Dressed Balls and Nick from Sloan Reptiles, Sloan Exotics, Sloan Reptiles, I think, putting on the show. They did an awesome job, great job of the show last time. I'm excited to go back. The website is fully up to date. One of the things I did get done in the past 90 days was work with the developers from Husbandry Pro and got the properroyals.com website up and running. It currently only works if you do not put www in front. There's some weird quirk from the development side that I don't understand, and from where it's hosted that I don't understand. I'm going to migrate it to a different place tomorrow, and then you can put www, all that you want on in front of the address, and it'll work. So right now, you just have to put properroyals.com. But check that out. All the new current available hatchlings are on there. There's some cool hypo stuff on there. I just hatched some cool lavender pied stuff with Mojave in it. That will go on there. All the Axanthic stuff already, it's sold like that. Don't believe them when they tell you VPI doesn't sell, folks. And I didn't even run sales on it. It's not bragging. It's saying that good stuff at a fair price will sell is what I believe. I want to say thanks. It's been a killer summer. The shows, these shows, the Proper Royals live shows, if you missed them, listen to this lineup. And this is a little bit of bragging and pride, but I don't really mean it that way. It's really being thankful. And you as an audience have propelled this. Like, people don't come on shows if they don't think that there's any audience or any reach. So it's way more than just me. Chris Eaton from Snakes and the Fat Man, shedtesting.com. That's Charlie at Gray Rider. He's in the audience in there. He did a show with his competition. He did a show with RGI, like with a huevos on that dude, man. I love it. And clearly I'm biased. He is an advertiser on the show every now and again. I'll just do that. I could throw some logos up there. You know what I'm saying? I got tricks, solo tricks. Leviathan Snakes, Steven was on, Corey DeLong, Bob Vu, Robert from Husbandry Pro, Mike at Herp Collectors. He came on with his buddy Matt. They do a podcast called Double Clutch. Billy Rose from Mutation Creation, Billy Rice from Rice Family Reptiles, Brian Cusco. Steven guest hosted a show with Patrick from Chimera and Chase from Canova. And then I'm really happy I got to showcase a few up and coming breeders that have been real special to me. Wide River Reptiles, that was Chris, Sarah and Josh at Sundog Serpents, awesome friends back from Florida. So cool to see them growing. Sarah took the time to volunteer to vend with me one time in one of my, I wouldn't say my first 5 or 6 shows I ever vended. So they're doing great. Go check out Sundog Serpents if you haven't. And then Warfels at Warfels Morphs. That's Jeremy Warfels. His name is Jeremy Warfels at Warfels Morphs. He was on the show as well. What a killer lineup for the summer. That's only 13 weeks. And all of those people that I just named, I think there was more than 13 of them. So some of them were doubling up on episodes. Thank you to all the guests for putting your faith in me. I know that aligning with a brand, even if it's just for one episode, comes with risks. So I appreciate the courtesy on that. Super cool. All right. The past 8 shows, the past 90 days of the market, the industry, what do we got going on? Yeah, Phil says he came for the solo. which of all people to say that, Phil knows I have limitations to my solos. Phil is the guy with the solo. I do not have an amp set up here. I don't have a guitar to grab. The funny thing is on that thumbnail, I really was thinking of saying like I take a solo flight, and the dumbest little like Snoopy biplane cartoon with my head sticking out of it like was in my mind. I was like, that's ridiculous, man. I was like, solo is in like a guitar solo. So I grabbed a guitar, but I thought the thumbnail came out well, and hell, you guys clicked on it. So here we are together. I leave all the soloing to Phil. Phil gets the solos. No, Charlie, there's no actual solo. It's just me yapping on for an hour tonight or more. We'll see what you guys get me into tonight. Yeah, Chris and Jerry are awesome at Wide River. They've been fantastic to do business with. If you guys need ASFs in the Midwest and you're anywhere near Iowa, if you're near Minnesota, call me first. But otherwise, you got to call them. So the end of the summer lines up almost perfectly as if I had planned it, which I didn't really, but it works out well, to me being in Minnesota for 1 year. I've kind of told this story in bits and pieces over the course of this year, but let me bring it back because I thought of an expression that I always hear that says, scared money doesn't make money. Let me tell you, I was terrified when I moved here. I think scared money makes the most money. You want to make money? Move to a new market right before wintertime when you deal in reptiles and you've never lived, or at least in the past 35 years, you haven't lived in a place that stays substantially below freezing for any period of time. You work with reptiles. You don't know anybody in the market. You don't know how you're going to ship your snakes out for the next 5 months. And you've quit your job, which paid pretty well, had really good benefits, no real problems. Sure, ups and downs, people are jerks. That's what we all say, right? Stare that in the face and see if you can go make some money, because that is how I figured out the Minnesota market. And I'm not saying I figured it out, but it's how I got by, and it's how I am here a year later. And so fast forward, getting through the winter, I was absolutely terrified. I was totally scared. And I realized I'm twisting the words to fit my own narrative. I get it. I understand what the expression means as it's meant. What I'm saying is sometimes a little fear in your in your heart, in your head, everywhere else in your body will inspire you and focus you to figure it out. And in that way, scared money was just fine, man. Yeah, Phil, you made it much more succinct than I did. Terrified to fail is a good thing. Yeah, there was no plan B. There was no exit ramp. There was no alternative other than, if it failed, I got to go back to the thing that I so desperately wanted to leave and walk away, which I would do for my family and I would do for myself to keep. I'm a pragmatic guy at the end of the day. It's not the end of the world to go work at a beautiful golf course and get paid reasonably well to run their food and beverage operation. It's just not what I want to be doing right now. So I got through winter. The sun came back out. Memorial Day came around, and I start talking to the locals, and they all say, summertime sucks. Nobody goes to the shows. Everybody's at the lakes. They're all vacationing. Traditionally, retail takes a dip until the back to school sales in the summertime, if you notice. With pets, it's even heightened because people are traveling, taking summer vacations. It's not a good time to buy a new pet, blah, 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 all of it. So I was faced with, well, do I just accept that? Or do I keep up the grind and keep going? Because maybe if all these other people are taking the time off and not getting into the market, maybe the new guy in the market can take a little market share. And you guys know me, like, what I love the expression, what's the alternative? We're going to sit on the couch and drink a beer and do nothing. It's sometimes, not often, but every now and again. But as like a business plan, I'm not going to do that. And like I just said, I'd walked away from my day job. I have the time. I need to be It doesn't mean I don't work. It means that I damn well better be working at this because I was terrified to fail. Um, and I've already given the spoiler. I went out and I vended 8 shows, and then I did go to Schaumburg on top as well. And actually, Schaumburg was an interesting topic. I'll talk about that separate. So the 8 shows, they were in, just for some frame of reference, Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. The Minnesota show, and it's called the Minnesota show. It's actually here in Minneapolis. The Cold Blooded Expos, put on by Jason at Cold Blooded Expos. That's the best show in this area that I've seen outside of Tinley. It reminds me a lot of the caliber of like Repticon Tampa down in Florida. Really good, setting the standard for the region show. There's been some challenges with the venues, but I saw a couple of the shows when they were in the venue that they should be. Also, side note, vendors, consider the venue that you're in. If you ruin that venue for the show, you ruin it for all the other vendors. And then you got to go find a new venue. The customers don't have the muscle memory of where the show was at. You might not have the same space to set up in. You don't get the location memory for your audience. They got to find you all over again. Have some respect for the venue. I'll let it be there, but I say we. I feel like I take ownership with like, I feel like a partner to these promoters. The venue was lost because somebody didn't control their animals, and one of their animals got into a hotel room unwelcomed. How about that? Not good. Nonetheless, the Minnesota show is a very good show. The other shows in Minnesota are put on by Snake Discovery. That's Ed and Emily. I think those are great neighborhood shows. Yes, they bring a ton of pet buyers, but they bring a ton of people. And I was just talking with Emily at the last show, really transparently. If you bring the people in the door, I'm going to figure out how to try and sell something to them. It's not advertised as a petting zoo. It's advertised as a pet fair and a sale and a place to make sales and to buy animals. So in that way, they do well. All of these 8 shows were one-day shows. That's the other nice part about it. Minneapolis, as well as Ed and Emily's show there, Snake Discovery, no hotels on those shows. Really great. The 3 shows that I do in Wisconsin, also no hotels. They're very long drives, though. One of them is 3 hours each way, so I'm a zombie when I get there. Also no hotels, also one day. And then Iowa, the only show in Iowa that I vend is the Des Moines show. And Des Moines, similar to what I would say about Ed and Emily's shows at Snake Discovery, is that they are solid. They are great one-day investments. I go, I get in, I get out, I make my money, and they are very solid. And I really am starting to gain some traction in that Iowa, Des Moines market. I've done well. I'm starting to recognize people. I got follow-up inquiries. It's only Tuesday. I got follow-up inquiries from the show. Hey, do you still have this animal? Hey, can you send me information about this animal? Hey, I checked out your website. I really liked it, et cetera, et cetera. So it's starting to kind of get some traction there in Iowa. So I'm enjoying that. And that was, that's a good show. Sorry, I'm catching up with the comments. It's hard to engage the camera and read the comments. Yeah, Rick says there was a hotel lobby when a multi-million-dollar client was using the space in the hotel. One colubrid in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it's one of the best venues I've ever been in for a reptile show, man. So just consider that if you're ever out there vending, like have some respect for the venue. And matter of fact, if you're a band playing in a bar, yeah, have some respect for the venue. You know, if you're a guest in someone's house, have some respect, you know, but certainly for the rest of us. Rick knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, all right. I've set the stage. Those 8 shows. So ask yourself on this. 8 shows seems like a lot, but it's single days. So that's 8 individual days, no hotels. And I will tell you mathematically, I averaged $1,434 per show. Pretty good. Quick math, I'll make you tell you that's close to 12 grand in show revenue. I still have Morph Market, Instagram, website revenue. So show revenue. Now, here's the crazy thing, and where some data really comes into play. And I'm not going to single out what shows or what. I do have too much respect for the promoters to do that. But I'll tell you, again, single day numbers here. My low on a single day was $275. That's annoying. I did. I had just on raw numbers, not my time, but just on raw numbers, I did make a profit that day. Not much, maybe a penny. But I did make a profit that day. But I do take a little bit of joy in knowing that's the closest I've come to a $0 show. So far, knock on wood, 2024, there has been no $0 shows. And you guys know, if you've watched this show for a long time, I have talked openly before about getting skunked at shows and fighting through and still building your brand and figuring out how to do the right thing all the time so that ultimately the right thing will happen back for you. So 275 was the lowest I've come, the closest I've come to the $0 goose egg show. Flip side of the coin, my highest single day show this year, remember, the lowly ball pythons that aren't worth anything anymore, $3,365 in a new market that I was scared and terrified to work in. Now that is some fine scared money right there, in my opinion. One day, and again, I'm saying all that with gratitude. And again, you have to remember all of this in the context of I've given up my salary. I've given up going to work on a daily basis, knowing that every 2 weeks that salary check will be there. Okay. So don't go like, oh man, Adam's just, printing money, making $3,000 a show. That's the high end. And that was one. And the low end was 275. And in between, the rest were all in between there. So I'm very happy with that. Again, an average of $1,434. Truth be told, if I thought I could build on it, which I do, if I thought I could build on it, I legitimately would, and I didn't think the market would get flooded, which it probably would. I legitimately would do that every weekend. I mean, just at 50 weeks a year, you take 2 weeks off, just at 50 weeks a year, that's 75 grand in revenue. And then you could, you would have your Morph Market and your website and YouTube, Instagram, all that. So it's a pretty good value proposition for me. A lot of people ask, especially from the old circuit in Florida, where every show was 2 days and a lot of them had the VIP for the third day. A lot of people would ask, like, where's the value proposition in a one-day show if I'm going to do all that work to set up and break down? For me, the value proposition is I can get back home and get on with my other day of my weekend. It's one day I could get back home. The numbers were not that different significantly for me at the time where I was at and what I'm doing now and what I was doing then. The numbers were not noticeably better over 2 days. And again, I have not had a $0 show this year. So I'm kind of liking these one-day shows, you know what I mean? So I'm enjoying it. All right. Summertime. What does it all mean? Great. Adam, you did well. You averaged 1,400. Give us some context. What is, if the first person, if it's somebody that's never vended shows before, that's probably smoking it. And if it's Bob Vu, he's probably quitting the business if he runs these numbers. So where does this land? What does it all mean? What does it have to do with where you're at in your journey, Adam? I'm talking to myself in the third person. That's what happens when there's no guest. All right, some context. Does retail and sales fall apart in the summer? So relative to me and me only, June was my best month ever. Best single month ever. I didn't break the numbers down to see if it was the best 30-day stretch ever. So maybe it's possible that there was like a killer clump last week of 1 month and an amazing first week of another month. And if I looked at the 30-day run somewhere, I would find a better 30-day stretch. But as far as just a straight calendar month goes, June was my best month ever. July below average. About $2,000 in total gross revenue. These are gross revenues. I'm not talking about what I made. I'm not talking about what I netted. I'm just talking gross money coming in the door. July was about $2,000 below average. It's amazing. And I hope nobody takes this as bragging. I hope if somebody's listening and goes, man, that's a lot of money Adam's talking about. And he's just taking it like, whoop-de-doo. Brandon Nixon was on the show one time. I see him in the audience here, and we had a conversation. I think it was on air, but it might have been off air. Now, this is a little while back before inflation and before some of the COVID labor revolution and payday revolution sort of hit. But we both said, man, if we could do $100,000 in gross revenue, we'd check out. We'd be chilling. I haven't quite hit it there, but I'm flirting with it. And I mean, projected for the year. I have not hit it yet either this year, but I do know that I do remember what I came from. And I do remember my very first show that I ever vended. I sold a $72 snake. That was it. All of the excitement, all the investment, all the ARS displays, backdrop, $72. So I've done my time is what I'm trying to say. So June was the best month ever. July was about $2,000 below average. August is trending that same amount above average. So I have in a 90-day stretch, I have a best month ever. I have a subpar and I have an over par. So across the three, what does that mean? I did do the research on, in writing the show tonight, on a running 3-month span. So I checked every possible 3-month continuous possibility. So for example, instead of June, July, August, May, June, July, April, May, June, et cetera, all the way back through 2023. And that is actually, I didn't realize until today, that was my best 3-month stretch ever, was this summer. So look, I don't know if sales dip. I don't know if everybody goes to the lake. I don't know if there's 99 reasons why you shouldn't buy a pet midsummer. And it's not that I'm only selling pets. I think breeders will buy snakes year round. I'm thinking of the things that would take the dip. Whatever it is, staying active seemed to work. I can't say that those things are wrong. I can just say that I worked through them. I will say, at some shows, some of the more notable breeders weren't there this summer. Okay, maybe I jumped in when they were out. For whatever it's worth, you can make money in the summer, and it didn't. Well, I'll be honest. June and August did feel very, very busy. I did 3 shows in August, but I also traveled. I traveled for a family vacation, but I also traveled for work to North Carolina. June, I did 3 shows in that month as well. So a hectic summer, good pace. Again, eight shows in those 90 days, but it was the best 3-day stretch ever. Year over year. This is an interesting stat. If you like stats the way that I do, and if you're watching the show right now, you probably like stats. Year over year, the same 90-day stretch, I'm up 27% versus what I was up, or versus the revenue that I did in that time last year. I don't think for a second that means that the market's up 27%. I do think it means my work is paying off and I've grown my brand some. I don't think I've grown my brand to the tune of 27%, although maybe I have. I'm not sure on that. But I also think I've grown the quality of animals. However, here's an interesting stat, because I thought to myself, well, what I'm breeding this year, as should always be the case, is better than what I was breeding last year. And even though prices have declined, the quality goes up. I've worked to grow my brand, et cetera, et cetera. That's probably the explanation. But think about this, and you guys can chime in as you wish on this or with whatever you think. So my 3-month of the past 3 months, my average revenue per snake, including I wholesaled 6 animals in August. I had some male double het normals. I was like, let's just move on. Including those wholesale prices, I averaged $308 per animal. Pretty good. I even wrote on my notes 2 exclamation points behind it. So that got 2 exclamation points. I was that excited because my first 6 months of average price per animal has only been, I say only, it has been $280 per animal. Also pretty good. I did have, I wouldn't say wholesale animals, but I had wholesale caliber animals left over from 2023. So a lot of January, February, and March was peddling, $35 and $40 snakes, which I don't really want to get into the argument of whether that makes sense or whether I should take $15 at wholesale for them if I can get that. But I chose to sell them. The other reason I chose to sell them in retail is that was the inventory that I had. And if I can get to neighborhood shows or snake discovery shows, okay, it gives me inventory, gives me a reason to get out into the market, gives me a chance to build the brand. At any rate, first 6 months of the year, average snake price was $280 of what I sold. The June, July, August average price, which the astute viewer will note, June falls in both of those categories. June falls in both the first 6 months of the year and the previous 90 days. That 3-month average was $308. So I was feeling pretty good about myself. I looked back to my average sale price, 2023, for the same 3 months, the same June, July, and August. My average sale price was $405. It was a full 33% higher. So my total gross revenue is up 27% in that time, but my average price per snake has fallen. So I don't know what it means. I need somebody smarter than me to figure out what that means. Whoopsie daisy, right? Sorry. Josh says, oh, snap. Yeah. So I don't know. There's all these personal biases. If you have great hatchlings come, you're going to focus on them. You're going to snap more pictures to put on Instagram. You're going to make more reels with them. You're going to tell more people about them. You're going to showcase them at the show. If like this year, I have had some cool stuff, but my cool stuff is really backloaded. I'm still expecting about 15 clutches this year. That was not the case last year. I was already had hatchlings, and my move was well underway. That was the thing. Literally, I think 1 year ago tomorrow, there was a storm. I have to double check the date. There was a storm barreling down on Florida, and our house closing wasn't until the last day of the month. But we actually said we're packing up and getting out of here. If a hurricane messes us up, well, we got insurance and I can't change the hurricane anyhow. I'd rather not be there if that's what's going to happen than be there. So we actually hightailed it a couple days early. So I think it was 1 year ago tomorrow when I was leaving. So Tito says, do you think location and circuit had an influence on earnings? Yeah, I do. Tito, at the very beginning of the show or the beginning of the segment, I talked about being just absolutely terrified. I had walked away from my consulting clients and I had walked away from my salary. So the snakes were really what I had when I got here. And so I really, really, really focused. I don't know if that had been the same scenario in Florida, if maybe the results would have been the same. I have started to think that the concentration of breeders and hobbyists in Florida is much higher than here, though. I think I'm probably in the top 10-ish breeders in Minnesota. There's no way I'm anywhere near the top 10. I'm not even near the top 10% in Florida. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. That's not demeaning Minnesota. It's just not as many. It's a vibrant market, but not like professional, really working at it. Yeah, I'd have to think over that. And I'm not a good judge of that. What am I going to rank myself? I'm the number 6 breed. I don't know. But trying to look unbiasedly, I would say I'm probably in that top 10 area. And like say in Florida, I don't even think I'm in the top 10%, and maybe not by a long shot, to be honest with you. So there is something to that. But the flip side, though, is there's more shows here than there were in Florida. That's just the fact of the matter. There's more shows, and it's a massive market. Twin Cities is like 4 million people. I don't know how many are in Des Moines, but there's a ton of people in Des Moines, not like 4 million, but there's a lot. And then you got Chicago right on the other side of Wisconsin, and Milwaukee's in the middle of there too. So I don't really know. It's a good question. I really don't know. Yeah, it is saturated. I don't know. Can somebody go look on Morph Market, see how many breeders are listed in Minnesota versus Florida? Can you still do the Morph map thing? I don't know. I know they got rid of the map, but maybe you can still. Could somebody filter by state? I don't know. See what you guys think. Josh, Tito, sorry, that's Tradesman. Tito Tradesman Exotics is in Jacksonville. Tito, we became really good buddies, but Tito is a good mentor and my ASF dealer. He was the original person to get me hooked on ASFs, and a reliable one at that. That's really how you keep somebody hooked on your rodents. Just have them when they want them. Tito always had them, and very good service, excellent quality as well. So check them out if you're in the region. Yeah. So here's what I really think. I think that obviously doing the work, which I think we all believe in, if you're hanging out in this audience, you probably are somebody that is willing to grind out a little bit of work. I think doing the work pays off. I do think, and I just had a conversation before I came on with one of the Patreon members. I truly think that shows actually do build your brand from a local standpoint. If you have a relatively large metro area around you, I think you should do shows in that metro area incessantly, as long as you have the inventory. You got to have a certain volume and scale and scope and all of that. I don't think, this is me talking, probably unpopular opinion, I don't think Morph Market builds your brand a whole lot, other than if you can make sure that you're getting the reviews out of the deal. Like, when you're working the deal, highlight how important reviews are to you. I do think that builds a brand. Sorry, I got people running in and out of my front door here. I don't even know how to turn that thing off. I think going to shows and having that personal touch, like in-person touch, not just personal service on Morph Market, and doing the right thing and packing really well and having a, cool swag that pops out of the box. That's cool. But I don't think anything replaces eye contact, a good handshake, shoulders back, chin up, and let's just connect with people like you can do at shows. And that has started to translate for me. As far as summer circuit, I don't know. I think if it's weird, because some business you want to do, like you want to follow the trends and the crowd because there's a crowd for a reason. But then other things you want to do because other people aren't doing them and there's opportunity there. It's a little bit of that sort of weird catch-22, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I'm just trying to convey some data while I think this through. But again, the one conclusion I really draw is that shows in a good market. Now, if you don't live in that market, it's a little bit tougher, I think. Like, I could sympathize with breeders that drive. How about this? Breeders from Minnesota that I know that drive to Dallas to do the NARBC show in Dallas. You've got a heck of a lot of overhead, your time, your effort, your energy. They're not cheap tables. You're probably going to drop your prices to try and sell something. Like, you got to make something there. You're not just going there to build your brand, because you're not going to be back for at least 6 months, and you might not come back at all because you go, that was a fortune. You might have lost some money. Whereas a local show, if it's your neighborhood, if it's the same people you're going to see in the local reptile groups on Facebook, if it's the same people that you can follow on Instagram and they can call you to do business afterwards, 3 days later, hey, Adam, you still have that snake? I know you're local. Oh, yeah, I do. I got it. I'm going to take care of you. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you have a metro area, now, if you're rural out in the middle of nowhere, that's a little harder. I don't know that I could say that shows are totally worth it, because you're probably paying hotels, you got all the travel and all of that. But if it's in your home neck of the woods and you got a metro area that you can really milk and become very well known in that metro area, sure, the state might be hard to get into the top 10 breeders, but could you be top 10 in Tampa Bay? Could you be top 10 in Jacksonville? You could do that. I mean, that's actually pretty reasonable to think you could do. You might not be able to do it on like northern Tampa Bay to southern Daytona. Man, that I-4 corridor is thick with some powerhouse guys, man, and ladies for that matter. But I think you could do that. So that's my sort of answer to should you do shows. And I think you could vary the quote quality. Not everything has to be Tinley national scale. Josh knows what I'm talking about. Josh is right. Josh and Sarah jumped into this in the middle of that I-4 corridor. Sanford's like a suburb of Orlando. Yeah, you guys are just jam packed with the cream of the crop, but you have those resources around you too, though. You have those potential mentors and friends and, hatchlings and deli cup deals from those guys. I don't get those. I don't have those deals anymore. I used to just drive south and go make some deals. I can't do that anymore. So that's really what I think. In there, I will say, I've done enough research and I've done enough market, sort of test market studies now. If I did those 8 shows in 90 days, that's flirting with, well, the straight math would be over 30 per year that I'm doing, but I think I'll be at like 28 shows by the end of this year. I got to look at the data and see which ones don't perform as well, because it is grueling, man. It's taken a little bit of a toll on, if I got out of restaurants because of nights and weekends away from home, what am I doing if I'm doing 28 of those, right? So I'm gonna have to cull some of these shows, for lack of a better expression. The shows that are bringing that average down, they're gonna have to go. It doesn't make sense to keep doing those. It made sense for me to go and to learn, and some of them I'm going to trade in for a different area. So some of them that are 6 hours away and I'm getting a hotel for, well, I'm going to go 6 hours in the other direction, because I've been so impressed with one promoter. I'll drive farther and invest a hotel night to vend one of his other shows. That just to be transparent, that's Cold Blooded Expos up and down I-35. So I'm going to try Kansas City in November, trade in a different one of the other shows to go down to Kansas City. Again, it's all in the mindset of learning and capitalizing on what I can, the results that I can see by experiencing it myself. I'm going to go do Fargo. Of all places, Fargo is supposed to be a great show. Why in the world would Fargo be a great show? Very small market, very rural. In theory, potentially even a little bit dangerous trip, because if you're traveling it's not the middle of winter, it's the end of October. They're going to have snow, freezing temps. You break down on the way home, you're in trouble, man. Your animals are. You probably live, but your animals are in real bad shape. They only do one show a year, and there's not another show within 3 hours of that market for the whole year. I like those odds. So I'm going to go check out Fargo. So I'm still exploring. I'm still learning. But that was the summer show scene circuit, so to speak. Let me see here. I'm going to catch up on some comments real quick. Was anybody able to quantify how many breeders are in? I'm going to have to look, man. Any breeders that are in Florida versus Minnesota? Jeremy, what's up, man? Congratulations on the bike. I hope you're still in the audience here. Congratulations on the bike at Daytona. And then every time I do a solo show, there's 29 of y'all. That's awesome. It was like most people come for the guests, not for me. you could blame it all on Jeremy. I did a solo show one time. I think it was my first one. It was really early on when I was doing podcasts, and maybe to my benefit, there weren't a million of them back then at that time. But Jeremy took the time to message me. I did not know Jeremy then. And he said, dude, keep doing what you're doing. You're the only person I've ever listened to talk solo for 60 minutes straight and be entertaining. And like, we've all been there where you're running out of steam and you're like, should I keep doing this stuff? And it was just like the perfect words at the right time. And so first off, thank you to Jeremy. Secondly, that led to a really, really good friendship and mentorship with Jeremy. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Tinley. Third, though, if somebody's doing a good job and it doesn't cost you anything to let them know, you didn't tip me. I wasn't looking for that. Just tell somebody. It might be the one thing that they need to keep going and to keep, getting out there and getting after things. So that was that always sticks in my mind. I'm always happy to tell that story when I see you around, Jeremy, especially on these solo shows, man. So thank you for that. Speaking of things that I'm thankful for, let's take a look at these sponsors for just a minute. A lot of them have value they can bring to you. They certainly bring value to me. And you got kind of a bonus tonight. Look, don't turn away, because look, all night you haven't had a chance to see them at all. But come on, they're paying the bills, keeping the lights on for me. So check out REDLINE shipping just today. Even somebody in the audience, I won't say who, gave me a call and said, hey, don't you have a promo code for REDLINE? I said, yeah, I do. Check them out. It's a great experience. The customer interaction is great. But more importantly, the reptile people shipping your animals for you to other reptile people. They're going to let you know how to ship them, what they recommend. This time of year, temperatures are all over the place. Like I said, it was 95 in Minnesota yesterday. They're going to help you make sure that your animals get there safe, and their relationship with FedEx and getting to animals when an issue does arise is fantastic. So check those out. Check out REDLINE shipping, redlineshipping.com. Use the promo code proper5. You're going to get $5 off of your next shipping label. You can see that code down there. Next is shedtesting.com. That is Charlie from Gray Rider Reptiles. He's disrupted the market. I used to say he's disrupting or he's going to disrupt. He's absolutely disrupted it. Check out shedtesting.com. You can just go to the website. You can pick the shed tests that you want. All the genes are right there on the front page. It's very, very simple. You just pick the gene that you want. You print out the little PDF of where you're going to write in your animal ID, the test that you want. You put your dried shed in a Ziploc bag, put it in an envelope, boom, send it right off to him with that and pay the man. That's all you got to do. It's a very, very simple interaction, a simple transaction. Charlie is the one who does the tests, he delivers the results, and he's the customer service. He's the guy, and he does it all very, very fast. You're going to get your results very quick. He's also developing more tests all the time. I won't say which, but he actually reached out to me this week and said, hey, do you have this? I said, yeah. He goes, could I get those sheds? I said, absolutely, man. So he's doing it. He's going to give you 15% off if you use the promo code proper15. That is off of 2 orders. Each order, you can order as many individual shed tests as you want. So if you got 10 sheds, save them up, do an order of 10 shed tests, and boom, you get 15% off of an order of 10. That's pretty good money, actually. That's a good discount. So check that out. You're going to enjoy the experience. I promise you on that. RGen Reptiles, that is Robbie down in Greer, South Carolina. Robbie is a good guy. He's doing a really focused collection of animals. Sorry, I got my notes right here. Robbie is working DG, Pied, and Clown with the dark genes, double, triples, both hets, visuals, and with dark genes like Blackhead and Stranger. Check out his Instagram. He just released some DG Clown combos. There's even a male double visual. This was last week's notes. I don't know if it's still available, but no bait and switch if it's not there. But he did release a double visual male combo on his Morph Market page. So you should go check that out. Portuguese pythons, likewise, working a big, vast collection, but really nice high-end stuff. I've got a 1.3 of Ultramel Pied stuff from them that I finally get to breed this year. I'm excited. This fall, they should be ready. If that sounds up your alley, Ultramel stuff with dark genes. They recently hatched a super blackhead Ultramel clutch. go check them out. Go see what they got. Really two of the nicest people in the industry. That's Danny and Renee Rocha, and they're in Chino, California. Ball Labs, that is Trevor in Aurora, Colorado. I'll get to see Trevor in 2 weeks. He will be at the Denver All-American Reptile Plant Expo. I finally got it memorized. Go check him out if you get a chance. Trevor likes to work with anything and everything he can get his hands on, especially like cool genes that kind of had their day in the sunshine and then sort of faded back into the distance. I think he's working to bring some of those back and to find out what secrets can be unlocked with what's available these days. But along with that kind of stuff, Puzzle, Ultramel, Clown, VPI Xanthic, Tri-Stripe, Monsoon, Zebra, and Sunset, all from Trevor. Also, if you're looking for rodents in the Denver metro area, get in touch with Trevor as well at Ball Labs. He's one of the few people in Colorado licensed to legally be breeding and selling rodents. They're pretty strict laws there. There's only a handful of people, like less than 10, that have that license. He's doing it the right way. He wants to be on the up and up. And I think it shows in his quality and what he produces. Last but not least is Chris at B and S Reptilia. Chris works with all kinds of different species, ball pythons, blood pythons, locality boas, all sorts of colubrids, pituophis, bull snakes, pine snakes. We will have those at the table at Tinley. Chris and I vend Tinley together. We're partners there. Actually, we were just talking tonight. We did the math. We could fit 4 ARS displays on one 8-foot table. Watch it. We're going to make it happen. And in those displays will be some bull snakes and pine snakes. I think we'll be some of the only people in the room that have those. You got to have the right permits for Tinley to even have those in Illinois. So he'll be there. Also, if you are in the Pennsylvania region, Chris is the regional distributor of the Chipper Cocoa. So get in touch with him for that as well. Thanks to all the sponsors. You keep the lights on, guys. Thank you so much. Audience, thank you for hanging out. Don't go away. I do have one more sort of shorter segment. And anything you guys want to talk about or topics you want to hear my opinion on, which Lord knows, I mean, there is a lot of places you can hear my opinion. So I'm amazed that people still come to the show between Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, YouTube, videos, YouTube live, 2 shows of live, all of that. I wanted to take a minute and tell you my thoughts on Patreon. Some of it, a lot of this opinion is formulated because I do have a Patreon, but I'm not telling you this as an advertisement for my own Patreon. I'm going to talk about my experiences, what I do in the Patreon, but I've come to have a whole new appreciation for it. And, just hear me out. Like I said, this is not meant to be an advertisement for mine. I will highlight some of the things that I do. And if you are so inclined, by all means, come check it out. But that's not my point. I get people that ask me a lot, what do you recommend? What should I do on this? This is my project here. Am I doing this the right way? And I'm happy to give you my opinion, but I'm one person. And you guys, if you've watched the show, you know that I look at things a little bit differently. And that doesn't mean that it's the right way to look at things. It means that it might be the right way for me to look at things. What joining a Patreon does is it puts you in a community of like-minded people where you can ask 15 people or 30 people or join a bigger Patreon. Hey, am I doing things the right way? You're going to get however many opinions, 10, 15, 20, 30 opinions. People are going to get to know you and you're going to get to know them, and they're going to get to know little things about you where they're going to say, you know, hey, if you've only got 80 square feet to put one ARS rack, you got to look at things this way. Whereas if you have, 6 figures to invest and 1,000 square feet, well, you can approach things a different way. And I can give you those opinions. But when you have like the economy of scale, it's like an economy of scale for insight and opinions. And opinions aren't always right. But if you start noticing trends and similar opinions, if you start noticing similar data points that are the same, you could start to pinpoint and pick out really, really valuable information. And other than who comes to hang out with the people, it almost doesn't matter from that standpoint what Patreon you join. I'm sure there's terrible ones. I'm sure those that are a waste of money, but the value you can get, and I'm only going to talk about mine here in this moment because I don't want to talk about other people's pricing or value, but the value that you can get, my entry tier is $7 a month. The value you could get for $7 a month just chatting with what the other 20 people in the group chat is easily worth less than $2 a week to bounce those ideas off of each other and to get ideas from each other. On top of that, there's a library of content behind the Patreon paywall. Again, I'm going to talk about myself, but I know, and I'll talk about a couple other people. I know people like Shane at Small Town Exotics and Steven at Leviathan Snakes. They crank out really useful content that you're not going to be able to get at YouTube or, Instagram Reels or whatever it might be. And again, for the $5 or $7 or however many dollars -7 entry level tier, just to have access to that library is, again, invaluable. Even if, not that I recommend doing this or I wouldn't want you to do this, but it'd be totally fair. Even if you just joined for a month, watched every video you could, took all the notes you could, were the most amazing student you could possibly be for a month, it's totally worthwhile. And it's something that's kind of reinvigorated me on, because it's easy to get burnt out. I do all this YouTube content. I do all this Instagram content. I do all these shows. I talk, blah, blah, blah. I talk about it. It's neat on Patreon to really dial down, to really get in the weeds, to really get, like, again, interacting with people on a specific topic. Again, I talked to somebody just before I came on the show about the potential of a wholesale deal, not for me, that they're considering with somebody else. Whether they follow my opinion or not, they at least got my opinion, and they can get the opinion. They had gotten the opinion of somebody else in the chat already. So right there, just the quick amount of data and experience that can come your way is really vital. And I've decided that, like, Patreon's, even at that very, very low tier price, could be one of the very, very best investments that somebody could make. A community is going to keep you going too. You're going to be invigorated when you wake up and you see 5 or 6 comments on something that you're interested in. Like, I would join a guitar Patreon just to talk about, Les Pauls and Gibsons and cool thumbnails I can make while I'm faking ripping a solo. I would do that. That is it's cheaper than Netflix. It's cheaper than Peacock and Hulu. Now, granted, we're not making Peacock quality content, but you're also interacting with the people. And so I really like that. The other thing you get are good inside jokes that I'm laughing, and John is, I know John's been pretty open with us. John is a native Portuguese speaker, so some of his comments come across pretty funny, both from the English that he does speak and some cultural differences. And now but I think that the true, like, sign of fluency in a language, even if it doesn't sound fluent, is being willing to joke in that other language. And John crushes it. So, 500 pounds down to 250, join Adam's Patreon. And if you believe that, I'll tell you how to make $9 million too. So thanks for the recommendations, guys. So like I say, I did want to highlight what I do, but more as an example of what's out there. And really, again, whether it's mine or anybody else's, I think there's a certain accountability that goes with it too, because we might talk a little bit more openly with people that we trust. I mean, here I am blabbing, conversations out into the ether, but you might talk a little more openly with people that you trust directly. You might talk specifics on numbers where everybody else wants to keep those things hidden. I know Bob Vu and Josh Jackie, they talk very openly about the revenues that they do at their shows. Like, every Patreon host can bring a little bit different added value to that community and to what they do. And honestly, if you think you have value to add as a Patreon host, I would recommend starting that too. I learn a whole lot. The time I put in really, it's not, if it was a straight transaction of the time in versus the money out, it's really not worth that. But from staying invigorated, building relationships, yes, sales do come from it. I got to produce some. Let me tell you, the Patreon folks aren't interested in inchy heck clowns. You got to produce something to get them interested. But, and I mean that not in a snide way. I mean it. And if you attract serious breeders, you gotta have something serious to sell serious breeders, right? So I've learned that from Patreon as well. But from a consumer enthusiast, someone who is getting serious. And when I say getting serious, if you're spending even $500 on a snake, you're serious. What else do you spend $500 on in life just for kicks? You're getting serious. Like whether you want to admit it or not, whether you think, oh, I'm not serious until I spend $2,000 or $3,000 on a snake, that's nuts. How hard have you worked in your life for $500? And then you're gonna spend that on a ball python pipe dream? Like you're serious about it then. That's what I'm saying. Not that you shouldn't. We all have the same, pipe dreams. What I'm saying is if you're that serious to spend that much money, we would all say you should be serious about the equipment that you're getting. You should be serious about the thermostat that you're using. Why not be serious about the community that you're interacting with? So think about it. If you want to check it out, check out Proper Royals Patreon. It's on Patreon. My tiers are at $7, $35, and $100. $35. You might be going, whoa, what happened to the $7, Adam? Well, hang on. $35 builds store credit. That all translates to future snake. You get every bit of that. I cover the Patreon fee myself. That's the cost of doing business. Really transparently, let's just say any animal that you can think of, Patreon's fees are around 10%. They're a little bit south of there. It's a little bit better than 10%. Would you negotiate 10% down on an animal? Of course you would. So, that's fine. I'll cover the Patreon fees. Your $35 turns into store credit and you get first dibs and you get everything we were just talking about. Weekly content that I put out, and then the group chat in that community. And then the $100 tier is same thing. You get your $100 back in animal and future snake. And you could use it to make payments on animals. I've had some people go, well, if I join your Patreon, can I use that money to make payments? Yeah, come on. So that tier also gets a 1 hour one-on-one monthly meeting where we talk like this, but we talk specifically one-on-one. You could pick my brain. I could pick your brain. We could talk about your business. You can learn what you want about my business, uninterrupted one-on-one. So I think it's really one of the best investments you can make in learning and growing. If you have not enough money to buy that incredible investment snake, but you have a little bit along the way, invest in yourself and a Patreon. I really think that. Where else are you going to get one-on-one FaceTime with Bob Vu or Billy Rose or whoever else out there has Patreons? It's an amazing opportunity. Most industries you can't get to like the A players. Even Justin has a Patreon. And I'm not familiar with how active he is. I know that he hosts a in-person meeting or get together at least once a year, but I actually haven't heard much about his, but I know that like Billy and Bob are incredibly active in theirs. Me and Shane are crazy active. Oh, I think crossovers and Patreons are the future as well. Shane and I just started doing a once a month long format audio only podcast. So 2-3 hour podcasts once a month. And again, we'll get very transparent in that. We pick apart our monthly P&L statement, profit and loss statement. So all revenue, all expenses, all net gains or losses, why we did what we did. That's shared to both of our Patreons too. So there's a whole cool world. I think of it as the evolution of like AM radio to FM radio to broadcast TV to cable TV to live streaming of today. Patreon is like there was like Facebook, then there was Instagram, then there was YouTube, and now there's Patreon. That's following that same thing. And there's a really creative world behind those paywalls of Patreon. So again, whether it's mine or anybody else's, if you're not in one, I would go find one. I would set aside the 5 to 15 or 20 or whatever they cost. I don't know what they cost. If it's an active community of dialogue, I would absolutely join it and consider it. All right, guys, that's true. You can, that sometimes I answer. Well, Sarah says contractually. Lucky for her, I just happen to be up. So yeah, let me look at these comments. If you guys have any questions or anything you want to cover, I'm happy. I got the time, and I'm thrilled that there's 27 of y'all hanging out. I'm down for that. Yeah, Kane says, I used to think $20 for a fish was high, right? Yeah, it's all a matter of what's relative. I say it a lot at shows. Even if you only sell, even that $275 show. Now that was a long drive, and I had I had to pay for the tables, but I still made a little bit. But let's just say I made $275. Most days at work, I don't think, even as good as my salary was, I don't think I made $275 a day at work. Like, it's kind of crazy what we associate with acceptable when we see snakes that are $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, and we're only selling $200 snakes. $200 is a lot of money. And like, it's not that hard to make them. So you just got to make a lot of them. And of course you want to make the ones that are worth more, but it's all in perspective how you look at it, I think. So, Rick says, can I hire you to make thumbnails for me? No, I'm not going to make thumbnails. If I was going to make thumbnails for anybody, I would make them for you, Rick. What you can do is, well, first I do want to clarify on Patreon. I'm not saying you got to pay me for my insight. If you want insight on how I make my thumbnail, call me. I'll tell you. I don't know that it's artistic, but I'll tell you what I do. But on a place like Patreon, I can make a video of the process. I figured out how to plant my little face in a circle on top of the video so I could talk you through what I'm doing. And that would be like the example of the Patreon content that, you're getting for your $7 a month. Rick, I'm happy to talk with you anytime about that, man. And like, I would make one like with you, but I don't want to be on the hook for making thumbnails. I don't like making my own. That's the reality. I'd rather come clean your geckos than make your thumbnails. But I guess everything has a price. All right, guys. I am wallowing in dead air, and I'm out of content. So I've always promised that I would rather have a short show full of content than a long show of any dead air or nonsense. So, okay, here's a good content, good topic. I was going to wrap up. Josh says, how's the help working out? So those of y'all that don't know, I back content just a little bit. I do have a hospitality consulting business. And for all that I said that I walked away from salary and all that stuff, I had kept one client on, and to be very transparent, I was working 5 hours. My agreement was to work 5 hours a week for that client. Basically just review their daily sales, review their trends, give a little bit of commentary. Thank you very much. Move on. They approached me a month, 6 weeks ago now, and said, hey, we have a project that we would love to keep you on. It'd be 2-3 year project and maybe longer. And I'm like, poof, my ears are perking up. I'm going, yeah, all right. But it's 20 hours a week. And I know that you're going, well, 20 hours a week, that's nothing. It's some part-time work. I know it's part-time work, but I was already drowning in my 28 shows a year in cleaning 200 snakes, cleaning a rat room, being a dad, driving across the country, doing 2 live shows a week, blah, blah, blah. I did not have the extra time. But I talked to my wife, and she knows how special this is, and she sees the results of like what we're talking about, the traction I'm getting, the improvement, the 27% year over year improvement. She says, why don't you take some of the money from the project and hire somebody to help you? I'll tell you, one of my mantras for the long time in the past 3 years has been, I don't want to be anybody's employee and I don't want to have anybody as an employee. Another way to put it is I don't want to be fired and I don't want to do any firing. I just wanted to be like the Hobbit, the business Hobbit Adam. Hobbit? No, not the Hobbit. Hobbit. What am I talking about? Recluse. Hobbit. Where did that come from? I wanted to be this recluse that was just like, just a one-man show. I have no idea where Hobbit came from. What word was I thinking of? Wanted to be, anyway, one-man show by myself. And when she said that, there's a gentleman named Perry at Soda Balls, SOTABALLS. Speaking of people I'm thankful for, go give them a follow. That's Perry and Karen at Soda Balls. They're genuinely great people. I had done a show in the morning talking with Joe about maybe taking on an intern or looking at help or having to trust people to grow. And it was really a philosophical conversation rather than a literal, like, hey, I'm going to bring somebody on. Hermit. There we go. Hermit, not Hobbit. Hermit. Okay. This is why I should have ended when I tried to. Business Hobbit. This is Hermit. Thank you. Anyway, Perry, credit to him, said, well, hey, if you're looking for somebody, I might be interested in working. And at the time, hopefully I was polite and graceful, but I declined. I said, that really was like a philosophical discussion, not an actual, I need somebody, want help, blah, blah, blah right now. And he said, oh, okay. Well, thought I'd throw it out there. And I was like, nah, that's great. I talk about it all the time. You got to ask 10 times before you get one yes, all those sponsors, they didn't come just easy, same kind of deal. Anyway, after I had that conversation with Kelly, that's my wife, I called Perry. I said, hey, I don't know if you're still interested. It's been a few months before I throw it out there publicly that I'm looking for help. I want to throw it your way. And we negotiated a price and hours, or really what we ended up negotiating was a set of tasks, but we both agreed it would take kind of X number of hours. And it wasn't the full 20 hours. It was certain tasks that would take a portion of those hours, but it would allow me to keep things in balance. The other thing it did, and it's worked out great. He's been fantastic to work with, full transparency. As odd as it seems, I'm an incredibly private person in person. Any of y'all that have met me at a show, like after hanging out, like I don't really know what to do when I'm not behind the table or I'm not in my own like controlled environment like this studio. So my apologies, but I'm not the best at like person to person actual interaction. And plus it's in my house. I know Perry, but I don't know him. So he's in my house. He walks through my, guitars to come in here. My son's home for summer. So it took a little time to build some trust, but things are going very, very well. I'm very happy to have him. One of the unintended benefits was for it to work. And I had envisioned this to be a 3-day-a-week kind of thing for a few hours each day. And he was like, I'm not driving all the way there and all the way back for this price and those hours for 3 days. I was like, that's fair. What about, would you do it for 2 days, one of them being a longer day? He said, yeah, that makes sense. If I'm already there, I don't care to work, but I don't want to come back in there and gas and wear and tear on the truck and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. So we condensed almost like 80% of the snake room chores and 90% of the rodent room chores are done in 2 days. We both just get in and we just work, and we work on different things separate from each other. So I'm flipping tubs. He's washing them. He's doing the rodent room while I'm flipping top to bottom in here. So all the animals still get cleaned and flipped if needed twice a week, up to twice a week. All the tubs get hand washed and scrubbed in the sink, and the rodents get flipped, and we get all that done in 2 days. So that leaves weekends if I'm not vending. It leaves mornings so that I can work those 20 hours a week for my client. And then it leaves my afternoons 3 days a week where I can work on stuff like this, marketing, writing shows, all the other business stuff, reaching out to sponsors, all those relationships. So I'm loving it. I think it's great. The caveat is that it took me having the other company project bring in the money to be able to fund it. So if I didn't have that, I was really teetering on the edge of like overextending myself, knowing I needed help, but not having a really justifiable way to do it. So there you go. That's that story. If that helps. Yeah, I mean, it is a little, I don't say it out loud, but yes, there is a component of, there are days I look around and I go, what in the, and in a beautiful way, what in the hell have I created? It's wonderful, you know? So thank you. Iowa Interstate Railroad fan. It was good to talk to you too. I don't recall who you are by your handle, but thanks for checking out the show. I'm intrigued by Interstate Railroad fan. Like, I love how on the internet, there's a niche for everything. Like, there could be, I could join a Patreon about nerdy 1970s Gibson guitars. I don't know what the Interstate Railroad is, but next time we talk, I'll be back there in October in Des Moines. I definitely love to catch up and learn about that, or you can message me. Feel free. Thank you all for catching up tonight. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to go be a business hobbit now instead of a business hermit. Thank you, Wolfhawk. Thank you, all of you, for hanging out tonight. You make me feel special week in and week out. I hope I give a little bit of that back to you. Thanks for all the support. Cheers, everybody. Have a good night. We'll be back to the normal guests and all that good stuff next time. See ya.